Robbie, they go too.
Good morning. He's just going to negotiate. Apology for lateness.
Good time. Thank you. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Chamber, to Thames Community Board meeting. And all those people, there's 6 people out there in the world of ether out there. Welcome. Welcome to the staff here today who assist us in our decision making. We just got the deputy chair I was going to say inconvenience. It is inconvenience, so he'll be here in a minute. So welcome everybody. I'm just now going to call on Councillor Sinclair to say the Karakia, please. So could you, those who wish to, you can be upstanding. Those who don't, remain seated. Thank you. Thank you, Councillor.
E nā tohu o mātou atua, o te rangi o te whenua. Hei ara tikina, e a mātou e nā take e whiriwhiri ai e tēnei wā. I raro aro e te aro a ranganui ki runga, e papa tuanuku e tākou nei. Whakamoa ai ki a tina, hui e, tai ki e.
Thank you, Councillor Sinclair. Just while the governance officer is handing some things out, I just remind all the elected members around the table to please use your microphones today, because it's very hard to hear on Zoom if you're not speaking directly in the microphone. But if you're not talking at the particular time, please turn your microphone off. Otherwise, get feedback or comments you may not wish to have gone out. Right. I'm very lucky. I've got a very good governance officer and everything's set out for me. So it's all laid out. So items 1.2, which is apologies and leave of absence. I've already had a discussion with our governance officer over this, but apparently we have to move to accept apology from Councillor Rebel.
I'm happy to do that, Chair. And
also to note that Councillor Sinclair may have to have an early departure from the chamber. So it was moved by the Deputy Chair, Rob. Do I have a seconder, please? Yeah, Board Member Rakwa. Oh, Rob, you going to do it that way, even though she's moving her own? Okay, that's fine. All those in favour, please say aye. Those against, declared carried. So much quicker when Councillor Rebel's not here, isn't it? Okay, is he up? He's not on the screen, is he? Oh, thank goodness. All right. Public forum. Okay, so welcome all those people for public forum today. Again, I ask you to come up to the front, please. Councillor Rodley may, oh no, our governance officer's going down and she'll set the microphone up for you. So, so first speaker today, we get 4 minutes and then we'll get one of these. So you don't think you're at the airport, you're here. So you'll get one of those and then you have 1 more minute and you'll end up with a chance to answer questions after you've spoken. So please bear that in mind. We've got a number of people in public forum today. So kind of maintain some sort of control over what happens. So the first speaker today is Caroline McKenzie, please. You come up to the front. Now, are you all speaking individually?
Yes, we are.
Okay.
But we're all going to try to be brief.
So how many people, sorry, how many people from the museum will be speaking?
4. Very brief. But we're all going to be brief.
So you should have made a delegation for the bank.
So we're maybe going to have a minute each.
5 minutes each for delegation. Okay. What I think I might do, Carolyn, because there's 4 of you, I might just ask you to take your place again, and we'll use it. We're going to use something which is called a delegation. So you speak as a delegation, and you all speak. Otherwise, you're only going to get a minute each.
Okay.
So you want it longer to speak?
Are you going to speak more than no? You're not going to speak more than no. Robin, no. A minute and a half.
Oh, don't be shy, don't be shy. Okay, all right, 5 minutes it is.
All right, we'll make it 5.5. Okay, so kia ora community board members, and thank you for agreeing to have us here today. Am I doing that right? I'm sure you know that museums and galleries all around the country are facing difficult times at the moment. In fact, Museums Aotearoa is running a nationwide Keep the Lights On campaign. However, although we support this movement, we're not here today to ask you for money. What we will do is show you how much it costs to run our town's museum. Looking at our financial reports for the last 3 years, you will have noticed that we have averaged an annual income from contested grants of around $54,000 a year. So surely that's enough to run a museum. Actually, very little of that contested grant money has gone into operational costs. Instead, we have worked extremely hard to improve the museum visitors' experience. No museum should be static or displays left to stagnate. One of our greatest achievements is the Taonga Māori Gallery. Another is the replacement of our most dilapidated display cabinets and the acquisition of some new ones, all with shatterproof glass, lockable and interior lighting, the better to protect and enhance our artefacts. Since early 2022, we have bought 13 new cabinets with a spend of around $29,000, all obtained from 8 contested grants, including a community board one and some donations. So some of you have already seen this hand-forged nail. Now, imagine this nail in a cabinet with a whole lot of other old tools, planes, drills, saws and the like. It would be lost. But this is a special nail because it came from the Methodist Church where the museum first opened 50 years ago. It deserves to shine in the cabinet. For this to happen, we make special mounts like this one using a museum-approved inert material called ether foam, and I'll pass that around and everyone can have a little touch of it. And a 60 by 60 centimetre sheet of ether foam costs around $50. A few selected items in any cabinet will really pop out when they sit on one of these mounts. Other costs involved in displays include core flute, printer ink, and we all know how much that costs, perspex, laminating pouches. Total displays spend so far this year is around $3,000. So I hope from this and what the others are going to say that you will realise the importance of keeping the lights on in our museum. We're coming up to our 50th birthday in August and are looking forward to keeping the lights on for another 50 years. Thank you. Any questions?
We'll do that part.
Beg your pardon?
I said, we'll do that part. Did you have another person wish to speak?
Yes, I'll carry on with this one.
Yep, certainly.
A lot of you know me, I know. I want to talk about keeping the lights on. Our electricity for the last 10 months, $2,500. For a full year last year, $1,864. So if we shut the doors because of such as COVID, where we were closed, etc., for the basic things that keep coming in with no control by us, bank charges, power, insurance, lease rates, security and telephone, cost us about $1,100 a month with doors shut. We have been getting in, not this year, but last year we got sufficient in door sales and membership fees to cover those basic costs. But then, as Carolyn mentioned, there's way more stuff. I mean, the other necessary expenditure are things like pest control, smoke alarm service, computer antivirus, and minor repairs to some of the display cabinets that have not been replaced by our beautiful new ones. And, of course, kitchen and bathroom supplies, cleaning supplies. We have a cleaner who does it voluntarily, as everybody at the museum is volunteer. But we have to buy her supplies, and we have to buy all the necessary things for bathroom and the odd cup of tea, etc. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, is that the two speakers from the museum? Another two.
We're very quick.
Well, you've got 36 seconds, so I guess you
Okay,
best speak.
well, on 36 seconds, I just want to say you've got a little sheet of paper. I'm the accessioner, and one of our goals was to get the collection out to the world, not just the people that come in. That happened in COVID, and we've developed online systems, and I've got links there that you can actually put in and go and visit our collection. Because of those things, one man online saw this Townsend collection. It's an over 120-year-old poetry book written by a chemist here, and he was a famous botanist that took over from William John Hall. So he saw that online, and he has written a book, and it features completely, virtually the Thames Museum photos and information they gained. So while we may look at our visitor numbers, for a museum these days, you have to account for the fact that we are dealing with the internet and the world. And we get inquiries from all over the world about items in our collection. So we've got over 9,000 and nearly 9,000 photos that have gone online. So things don't have to be on display in the building. They are displayed wherever we've got them in storage. So that's been one of the major advancements that we've made.
Thank you. One more. Oh, yes. May we please have your name?
Robin Pierce.
Robin?
Robin Pierce, and I'm a volunteer at the Thames Museum, and I also take care of the clothing and the household textiles. So tēnā koutou katoa, everyone. Hello. Whilst we strive to have interesting displays with well-written signage, videos and interactive exhibits at the museum, the fact is we have a lot packed away. Our first job, though, is to protect the Māori taonga and all the museum's collections for future generations so that the public, academics and researchers have access to the history associated with every one of the artefacts placed in our care. Whether it is a black silk dress worn by Mrs. Cobley, whose husband William Cobley was one of the men who registered their claim on the Thames Shotover discovery in 1867, or a wedding dress worn by Frances Hudson for her marriage to Alfred Court of A. Court and Son Limited, a Hauraki brass band uniform from the 1900s, a baby's sailor suit, which was handmade and gifted by the crew of the Hannah and worn by Robert Moody, who was born aboard the ship in 1851, or an invitation to Jessie Hetherington of Hetherington's Limited Thames to attend the coronation of King George VI and Queen Elizabeth in 1937. Thames Museum is committed to taking care of all these objects for the future. So just to cut down, so I just want to tell you that standard size box, could you hold it up please, Carolyn? Standard size acid-free museum quality box cost us $21.91 per box, and they come in flat packs. Being acid-free protects the contents from deterioration. We have various box sizes. So the largest box is costs us $103.45 for one box, and that fits military regalia, bedspreads, tapestries, wedding dresses, that sort of thing, so larger items. So I won't go into all the costs, but a 100-metre roll of Tyvek for those little cushions costs us $920 for per roll, and that's a 100-metre roll. And we're making our own little cushions because they're far too expensive to buy ready-made. And Myla, Myla is $650 for a 100-metre roll, so you can see the prices are very much up there for us. So in conclusion, our cost for conservation supplies from the 9th of June 2023 to the 11th of March 2024 was $3,942.12. Kia ora. Thank you. I just want to say also that the products, and I haven't mentioned them all, but they are all recyclable in Aotearoa, New Zealand. Thank you.
Okay, now we're going, this is your question time. It's a bit unfortunate you didn't take the delegation role instead of this way. But if the 3 of you, 4 of you stand there,
Yeah.
we'll have some brief questions of you. Okay, first question to Councillor Sinclair.
And I want to just acknowledge as well that I have received your email newsletters and I see your advertising on Facebook that you're trying things a little bit outside the box in terms of those evenings that you're having. My humble apologies, I haven't been able to make one yet. But this leads on to my question, which is about membership. And because I know you're not asking for money, I do acknowledge that, but you're talking to some people who are, ingrained in our community. We're at a lot of places. Would it be useful for you to have more membership? Because that is something that we can advocate for. We can, be out there and saying, hey, become a member of the museum. So membership is an important part of what you would like to achieve? Great. Yes.
Just about everyone that comes in the museums, if Carolyn's there as coach, asked, there's membership forms on the counter and there's various pricing for memberships. Yes. Yes, they're lucky to get out the door.
Okay, any further questions? Councillor Rodley.
So this is showing the fixed costs. So what have you got figures for income for that June 23 to April 24?
June 23 to April 24. Door sales and membership.
Oh, sorry, down there. Okay.
Yeah, 9,480. That, yeah.
Right.
So, but we've still got 2 months of the year. So
Yep.
if you all come in, sign up for membership, bring your families and pay for all them, we might reach the target to cover the very basic costs.
So without wanting to put words in your mouth, so basically you're approximately covering those sort of fixed costs. But then for additional display cabinets or that sort of thing, that's where you're going out getting grants.
Grants, yes.
Right.
But
Okay.
that's very basic. I mean, as I said, that is not covering any basic repairs and maintenance, not covering our cleaning supplies or our volunteers' cups of tea or anything like that.
Yeah.
So basically, we couldn't manage on just covering those basics because, as you know, owning a home, there's always something that needs to be done, whether it's pest control or whatever. Yeah,
Okay, thank you.
leaky roof or something.
Okay, so any further questions? I noticed, Caroline, you preempted your comments by saying you weren't asking for money, but have you made a submission to the long-term plan?
We sure have.
Excellent. So that's presumably why you weren't asking us. Okay, thank you very much. And we really appreciate the museum. You do an excellent job.
Thank you.
Do we have a Mr. Rick Lowe in the building, please? Rick Lowe? No. Then we'll go down to, excuse me if I get this wrong, but Joe Dennehy. Is it Dennehy?
Yep.
Please. You have 5 minutes, sir.
Right-hand button. Can you hear me?
Yeah, it comes up red. Yep, that's it. You're away. You're
Okay.
live.
I'm not here to ask for money or to complain about the rates. I wouldn't mind a show of hands of those of you who've been to Tapu Camp lately, in the last 6 months or the last year. Anyone? I first went there about 2 years ago, and I thought I'd transferred back in a time machine to New Zealand in the 60s, really. It's just such a friendly little camping ground with very, very reasonable prices, very, very friendly people, great facilities. And it's how I imagine, well, not even really imagine, life would be at the beach in the 60s. It's very, very well run, was run very well by Bruce, may he rest in peace, and he has a designated successor, carefully chosen, and that's Annie. And having spoken to Annie, she will, I believe, keep it going in exactly the tradition that it has been in for quite some time. So it could be developed, it could be a lot more expensive than it is, but it's a place where a family of 4 can go and stay in a beachfront cabin for under $100 a night, which is pretty amazing. It's got great facilities down the road to launch your boat. Everything in the camp works. The washing facilities work, the toilets work. It's very well maintained by Bill and his crew, and I'd just like to keep it going. So that's all I have to say.
Excellent. Any questions, Mr. Dennehy, please? Anybody? Thank you very much, sir, for coming and presenting to the Thames Community Board. Oh, did you miss him? So we've got one name, the lady down the far end. Oh, is it? Oh, good. That I need to go to Specsavers. Is it Elsie Barker? Is it? Is it? I need to go to Specsavers. Sorry. Okay.
Or any other optometrist, not just Specsavers.
Which one do you go to? Right. So you'll see the reason for this now. So the Thames Community Board received the speakers in the public forum, namely Carolyn McKenzie, Cheryl McConnell, Robin Pearce, correct? Robin Pearce, is that right? And Althea Barker and Joe Dennehy. Do I have a mover for that, please? Moved by Councillor Sinclair, second by Councillor Rodley. All those in favour, please say aye. Those against, declared carried. Thank you, everybody in public forum. You can remain if you wish, or you can slowly slide out if you wish. Thanks, Chairman. Okay. Right, you're right. Okay. Items 1.4, any items, item 1.4, any items not on the agenda? There's none, so didn't, oh, right.
Gave him a script. Okay.
It's got, I've got to share this. It's got here, do not ask.
Moving on.
Sorry, Mr. Chairman. Right. 1.5, conflict of interest. Does any member have a conflict of interest? No, right. Minutes, 1.6. Thames Community Board confirmed the minutes of Thames Community. That's really, Thames Community Board confirmed the minutes of Thames Community Board meeting held on the 21st of February 2004. Do I have a mover, please? On 21st February 2024. That's embarrassing me again. Seconded by Board Member Rakwa. All those in favour, please say aye. Turn over the page, just make sure there's no more red writing on the other side. Two. Oh, right.
Yes.
Oh. Got it. Right. Oh, so I've been here 18 months and I had to ask who you are. Sorry. John Muston, is it?
The one and only.
And only, right. Thank you very much. Okay, 2.1, proposed car park lease Thames Civic Centre. So you see the recommendations down there, but before we move the recommendations, anybody got any comments they'd care to make about it? Yes, Councillor Rodley.
So I read in the report how there's different owners have kind of, there's been this sort of assumption or a right to those parking places. So is this basically drawing a line under that to say that if you want those car parks, that it has to be a lease rather than, and so there's clarity around what the situation is. So any potential new buyers or people purchasing anything to do with that building will know that there's a 10-year lease on car parks and then right of renewal after that. Is that correct?
100% correct.
Right.
It's just unfortunate in the original agreement for sale and purchase, it was quite a poorly written right to the car parking spaces, and it's clearly been played up by the purchasers at the time. You know, it talks about, you know, continuous occupation, quite strong words. So this is about drawing the line in the sand and saying, look, let's put all that history to bed, because certainly the owners previous to the current ones were quite adamant that they thought they had a legal right to the car parking spaces, as did the original person to whom we sold the property. So this is actually saying, no, the current owners are accepting that maybe that's not the case. Yeah. Or put another way, they're not going to have a legal fight about it, and that's what they've indicated so far. And so this means we'll turn it into a lease, give it a finite period, and then call it quits. Well, then do something else. Yeah.
So just a further question around that. So at the moment, I think the ones sort of around that little power substation thing on the very corner are marked GDC, and then there's another 3 or 4 sort of around in on the bit heading down towards Queen Street, but they seem to be marked separately. I think they say something like
we go from
or residents or something.
Through you, Mr. Jim, we go from the 10 spaces of these into a loading bay, then into those short-term spaces for people using the toilets and things.
Yep. Okay, but the ones around on the south wall of the Civic, that's including those as well, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
So will they all be labelled consistently?
Are they not labelled consistently now?
Well, some say GDC.
Yeah.
And then you get round the corner and it says residents or something rather as parking or something.
Yeah, well, GDC spaces go from effectively where the little generator spaces are around the corner to the end where that very back door is. So.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Sinclair.
Thanks, John. Just thinking about the rest of that space there, because there are quite a number of car parks that are used by the people who own the businesses on Pollen Street and have access through the rear. Did they have similar arrangements? Is this going to open up a door for them wanting similar arrangements? Like, are there a whole lot of unintended consequences of this?
No, I don't think so, through you, Mr. Chair. Some of those, you know, well, we won't know until we dig really deep into those things if something did happen there, but most of those spaces for the retail spaces have legal rights of way out onto the service lane for their benefit. Okay. And this problem only arises as this council granted the 10 spaces when it sold the building in the first place. You know, we've created the situation for ourselves.
Okay, thank you.
I just wonder if we got enough information. There's only 2 options here: either grant a lease for this, or not grant it for this. Is there other information or background that we should have? Have we got enough information to make this decision?
Through Mr. Mitchell, I think so. It is quite black and white. If we say no, then they will likely. If I was them, I'd take legal action trying to enforce the original obligation. And whether they're successful or not, I personally don't think they would be, but that was the route they would take.
Yeah, I guess that's what I was asking, because it was all a bit loose at the beginning, as I understand it, and there was nothing really in writing, or is there something in writing somewhere?
It originated from a clause in the agreement for sale and purchase,
Right.
granting the 10 spaces.
Right.
So it comes down to the interpretation of that clause.
Right.
Thanks, Mr. Master. I just want to ask some questions because I'm really struggling with this. I spoke to one of the original purchasers of it, and they negotiated with council about, wasn't leasing it, they just negotiated to be able to use 10 spaces there. Bring it forward to 2024, and they're talking about putting apartments in there. Will they then use, because they'll be obliged legally, will they not to have car parks for their apartments?
Mr. Chairman, so yes, I mean, and why this thing is actually being triggered is because of their town planning application to convert the upstairs building on the corner of Holland there into apartments, as well as retaining some offices. So the district plan provides that any shortfalls in car parking are to be met from the surrounding area, because we know that there's a limited amount of car parking in that whole CBD patch. And so it just means at the moment the body corporate for that building can turn around and allocate, for example, space 1 to unit 1, space 2 to unit 2, etc. The alternative for them, if we said no altogether, is then they'll just have to sell the apartments with people going and finding their own spaces, whether it be on the street or down at Goldfields or somewhere else. So certainly from their perspective, that wouldn't be the most desirable marketing outcome on their sale.
Yeah, I understand that. I thought that if you put an apartment, you may be obligated to supply a car park for it.
The district plan provides, in this case, in that area, that it can be met from off-street.
And this is not off-street, this is a service lane.
Well, the actual car parking is not on service lane. The car parking is actually on the council-owned Civic Centre site.
I guess what I'm driving at, we're looking at a free ride here, aren't we, really? And I think, do you think this is going to finally make some definitive ruling around those car parks, or would this just going to go on and on?
I think it draws it more to a conclusion.
It does.
And even if you were very aggressive from the other party's perspective, their argument becomes strongly weakened when they've entered into this arrangement accepting a lease. Why would you accept a lease if you thought you had something better?
And just one other quick thing. I noticed that there's a loading zone outside there, and I presume the loading zone is set there mostly for the Civic Centre.
Correct.
And I could stand corrected by Councillor Rodley, but it's not something which is used often, and I'm wondering why we don't have that as a temporary parking area and with the overriding loading zone, and then when we need it, cone it off, because there's 4 or 5 car parks. I mean, I walk the Beagles around there most mornings and look at it and think, what a wasted space. I've never seen anything but a container there. So could we not?
Yeah, that's possible, Mr. Chairman. It just means there's a lot more management involved for it, because deliveries aren't always on time, and then the truckie's confronted by cars being there and trying to find, well, how do we move, you know?
I thought the loading zone is actually for the Civic Centre. If you're talking about supplying the shops.
No, not the shop, the Civic Centre and the eyesight there.
Oh, yeah.
So,
yeah, it's not. I've only seen a container ever there. I've never seen a truck unloading there yet. But Councillor Rodley, who spends more time at the Civic Centre than I would know the importance of it. But I just thought for 340 days a year or 330 days a year, it sits idle because it's got loading zone written on it.
Yeah, that's a good suggestion that can be explored, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, I thought it could be a parting gift to us from you. Oh, yeah, okay. We're going to read out the clause in the sale and purchase agreement originally. Oh, I'm going to read it out? Right, I'm reading it out. Okay, the vendor shall grant to the purchaser for the use of the occupants of the building on a continuous basis an additional 10 car parks as identified in the plan text here too. So the vendor in this case was the council. No, it wasn't. It was a private individual who owned that building. So, but it's not in the document though, is it? It's not
There's nothing registered on any title. It's only in that by virtue of that agreement. And that person thought he was buying the right to that. And it's obviously our position that says he's really only got a license that was valid for the time when he was the owner of the property.
And as my last question, I promise you, when you use the word lease in your document, and I did ask some more questions which you've answered very graciously, and I've got them on laptop. But when you use the word lease, that to me implies a lease that there's money changing hands.
Well, at least can be for 10 cents consideration, or
So you got
as
dollar.
long as there is a consideration.
Yeah, I'll leave it at that. I would have liked to see some return on it. Right. Councillor Rodley.
Yeah, just a couple of things. So in that option 1, it talks about the disadvantage of being no revenue opportunity from the 10 spaces for the duration of the lease. And I know it's referred to being a free ride, but we don't charge for parking anywhere in Thames, so we don't have that opportunity for revenue.
Or anywhere in the district.
Yes, and also just talking about that loading zone. Yes, I use that reasonably often because when we're moving the mast lift that lives at the Civic across to the high school to use it over there, then that's a fantastic zone for it. When we've got concerts and other events using that, having that space there is just fantastic. Like the high school ball, where vehicles turn up there with trailers, the event people use it. So I would request that loading zone just stays exactly where it is, please. Thank you.
I thought Councillor Rodley might have known something about it. The thing about it, it sits there for a long time. You could actually zone it out for when you need it. If you have the underlying word zone underneath it and have parking if there's nothing happening. But anyway, might be a bit too avant-garde. Any further questions? Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Mustin.
Up for the next item as well, Mr. Chairman.
Are you going to sit there and wait for the next? Okay, all right. Yeah. But if you just slide your chair just slightly to one side, because right behind you is the motion on the board.
Or you can read it.
Or I can read it here, I'm being told. So, do you want me? No, you read it, and then I'll ask for a mover and a seconder. Yeah, okay, but you read it. Are you happy with it? Do I have a mover and a seconder, please? Moved by Councillor Rodley, seconded by Board Member McKenzie. Any further discussion on it? All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Those against, declared carried. Okay. Item 2.2. So any discussion on this, or I want to ask Mr. Mustin anything about the request to sublease Wintec?
So correct me if I'm wrong, but that Wintec building does still have some issues, doesn't it?
What sort of issues?
around weather tightness and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Right. But presumably MSD are happy with, because I understand they've got some issues of their own, so they're happy to move into something temporarily.
Well, our issues are more exterior, and they're not. Well, there's parts of the cladding on that building that would be replaced.
Yep.
There's poor flashings around all the windows. So when we do material works on that building, they would be the highlights. And I suspect that when we do work on the windows and the flashings, that we'll discover around those windows there's some framing timber that will need to be replaced. But otherwise, it's not too bad. It's very dated inside, and no money's been spent on it in the last 20 years. The carpets are horrible. The wall coverings are horrible. It's not the most salubrious space.
But there's but there wouldn't be any. You don't see a situation where they move in and then start asking for stuff to be fixed, and we're not looking at some expensive
No,
costs.
through you, Mr. Chairman, MSD actually don't really have that right either, because they're only a sublessee. So our tenant is still Wintec.
Yep.
And that's the party whom we have the formal relationship with. So this is a relationship between MSD and Wintec.
Okay, thank you.
Board Member Rakwa.
Thanks, Chair. Just want to check, what's the earthquake rating on that building? Is the earthquake safe or?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, I'd have to look that one up. The first thought that came to my mind that it was probably in the mid 40s, so not earthquake prone. But if you want a definitive answer, I can get that and email that to members.
Thanks.
Sorry, what was the question, please?
What is the seismic rating for the building?
It's a more recent. Did you think it was built in 1940s? Did you?
No, I didn't say that. I said I said the seismic rating, I think, is around there. Yeah.
It's a reasonably recent building. Yeah. Okay. Any more questions? There being none, I propose to put the motion. 2.2, the Thames Community. Oh, you want to speak? We can move it. Thank you. Oh, I've just been advised to read these out. The Thames Community Board receives a request to sublease Wintec report dated 21st of March 2024. Recommends the council approves the sublease lease premises of 414 Queen Street, Thames, between Te Pukenga, New Zealand Institute of Skill and Technology, Wintec, and the Ministry of Social Development. Do we have a mover, please? Moved by Board Member Johnson, seconded by Board Member Rakwa. All those in favour, please say aye. Those against, declared carried. Right. 2.3, expression of interest for Thames Business Information Centre. Do we have people speaking? Oh, welcome. Who's that? Oh, good. Right, you all got that? 2.3 on your agenda. We'll hear from you first if you wish to say anything.
I'll take the report as read.
Thank you.
Right. Testing. We received 5 expressions of interest for the Thames Information Centre. One was clearly a really well put together application. They'd done a thorough investigation, visited other information centres, had a raft of things that they would like to do should they be lucky enough to get the opportunity. And that was the Thames Business Association. They have indicated that they would like to move into the X Information Centre building currently leased by Destination Hauriki Coromandel. The Thames taxis also put in an application, which it was a really good application. It didn't include a business plan, and it wasn't as sort of well researched, I guess, than the Thames Business Association. Goldfields Mall put in an application. That application was pretty much to retain the current service that they have. It would remain at Goldfields Mall with the digital kiosks. The Treasury also put in an application. It was incomplete. It was a brief one-page letter. And then we had a CV from a member of the Thames community come in. So I take it you've read those. Yeah.
Does anybody have any questions, please? Councillor Sinclair.
2 questions. Hi. Did we, in the expression of interest, did we ask for a business plan?
It did say to provide your business plan to council, yes.
Cool bananas. And secondly, when we spoke about this informally, there was the question raised about the lease of the current eyesight, or the current ex-eyesight site, which is held by Destination Hauriki Coromandel, and the other space at the other end of the building, which is subleased to a charity. Yes. And we did ask whether there was any way of disconnecting those leases, and I just wanted to follow up on that.
Yeah, so the lease for that, for the destination Karakia Coromandel have on that property expires at the end of June. And once that has expired, there is a potential to split them out. I've spoken to our property team, and that can be done when the new provider moves into that. If they choose to move into that space, or if you're wanting them to move into that space, that can be done at the time of lease. If the new provider isn't able to move in on the 1st of July, or, that they signal that they can move in on the 1st of, August or September, then the current lease can roll over on a month-by-month basis until the new people move in. But that would be another report coming back to you from our property team.
And just a clarification, the new provider knows that age concerns down the other end and doesn't want that space particularly for themselves. They're not.
We haven't had those.
You haven't had that
discussions,
so, yeah,
but yes,
but
people do know that the age concern is at that point.
Yeah, just okay.
And I guess that would be at like the board's discretion or council's discretion as to what the terms of any future lease are. Yeah.
Councillor Rodley.
So I just wanted to check, this might sound picky, but the information centre is referred to at various times as Thames Visitor Information Centre, but then the other ones are just called Information Centre, but it also talks about just Information Centre. So is it called the Thames Visitor Information Centre or just Information Centre?
In the past, it's been called the Thames Information Centre, but I think there is a move to rename them the Whitianga Visitor Information Centre, or the Thames Visitor Information Centre.
Right, okay. And a follow-up question. So I noticed in the proposal from the Thames Business Association, they're talking about having it operating 5 days a week with the potential to move to 7 days a week. It does seem to me that one of the sort of pivotal times is when the buses turn up there. So is it, and I'm not saying we would put pressure on them, but is it possible to write a thing in or to approach the TBA and say, look, for the, Monday to Saturday buses turn up there at like 2:25 and 9:40, sorry, 9:40 and 2:35, and on Sunday it's just the 2:25 and 2:30 buses, to be able to say, can you have a person in that space in the Visitor Information Centre for 20 minutes either side to cover that particular time period?
I don't think it's unreasonable to include that as part of your KPIs, and that would be something that we would have to come back to you to get a full list of the KPIs for the current term. Currently the KPIs for the other information centres say something around the you must be 7 days a week between 1st of November and 1st of December and the end of February to cover that peak period. But outside of that area, visitor demand sets the expectation on when you are to be open. We could change those KPIs and word it that you would like them to be open, to include when the buses arrive, or if you would want them open 7 days a week but shorter hours, over the winter period. I think that would be something included in the KPIs.
So would that be something that would be just straight operational, or would that be something that potentially a community board could?
I think it would be good to get input from the community board. Every community is different.
Yeah.
So it would be great to get your input around the KPIs. And I think, I've only been looking after the information centres for the last probably 4 years, so that we haven't ever gone back and re-looked at the KPIs, and I think it's time that we did.
Okay, thank you.
Any other comments? Board Member Rakwa.
Regard for the grants they aligned, is that enough to cover the one person full-time job?
Well, the grant isn't to pay a person's salary, it's a grant to operate the information centre. I've just done a report to the Sustainability Committee and read through all of the reports quite thoroughly this week, and it's quite interesting to see the information centres that are getting like quite a lot of external funding from other grant providers and from advertising and things like that. So TCDC is giving a grant to operate the information centre, but we are expecting them to look for external funding and other opportunities to increase their budget.
Can I ask?
Supplementary, is it?
Yeah, supplementary. Because we don't have proper info center in Thames, is it worth it to spend a little bit more money to help them more form as a staff wise for first 3 months to give them kind of boost, and they will find the way to increase more revenue?
There is no funding extra to provide. I don't know if the community board have any funding, which is what Whangamata had done in the past. Over the last 2 financial years, the community board have used it wasn't discretionary fund, like a reserves fund to top up the payment to the information centre. So if that's something the community board has an appetite to do, then that would be up to the board to decide that.
It can be a challenging thing to unwind, though. Because people will set something up on the expectation that they have that funding, and the information centres are where they work really well. They are viewed as a community service and could be run by an incorporated society, so they're not like a traditional business, and they do depend on quite a lot of volunteer support.
Thank you for that. They also can have it on a sliding scale, so much 1 year less at Treasury. So wean them off after 3 years. Any further questions? Your microphone on, yeah. So the EOI did indicate that it had to be face-to-face 7 days a week. So you've got some, or we requested a face-to-face anyway.
Yeah, so that is an expectation that we have, that I think isn't unreasonable. Yep. I don't think that people initially would work, if it was a Thames Business Association, I think there would be a process before they move to that 7 days. And I think that would be coming into the peak summer, period.
Okay.
But I think if that is something that's, imperative to the community board, then it would be something we could include in their KPIs.
Yeah, thank you for that. But I think I heard you say that you'd probably come back to us anyway before you do the KPIs, which would be of benefit to us. Not that we wish to dot the i's and cross every t that you do, but it's just nice to have some input into that, because it's coming back as like a rebirth down there for us. Yeah. Board Member Mackenzie, did you want to say something? Right. I saw your hand move out of the corner of my eye. Okay, so in front of you, thank you for the comments and the report. In front of you, you've got the recommendation. Yeah, so if you haven't read it, it's too bad. So do I have a mover and a seconder, please, for a recommendation as on page 21? Moved by Board Member Rakwa, seconded by Councillor Sinclair. Any further discussion on the matter? There being none, I propose to put the motion. All those in favour, please say aye. Those against, declare carried. So we were programmed to have a break at 11:15. I wonder if we can. No, is that enough? Oh, is he? I said that popped up online. Thank you very much. So, yep. So, it's online. Oh, thank you. Good morning, Glenn McIntosh.
Good morning.
How are you?
Very good, thank you.
Okay, page 46, CAPEX report. So, do you want to just run down through the report, team? Have you all read it, looked at it, identified any problems, challenges, concerns?
It's like lots of green, lots of blue. It's nice.
Otherwise, Mr. McIntosh has given up his morning tea time to be here. Okay, I'll start top rundown. Library, swimming pool, Centennial pool fencing. I hope that can be changed to the new pool. Since it just cost us 14,000. Porrid Park. Right. Forget about the things. Kopu, public conveniences. They'll be in by the time May, won't they? Public conveniences, Kopu.
So the number in the third column is the expected spend by the end of this financial year, with the rest of the work completed by late in the calendar year, I think is our deadline for MB.
Right.
Part of a batch.
Hmm.
Oh, the brilliant. Oh, Councillor Rodney, sorry.
Yeah, so I mean, presumably, but with that, because there's that 255k from tourism infrastructure councils matching that, but that's going to be in the next financial
year. Correct.
Right, thank you.
Footpath rehabilitation, streetlight renewals. Totara Valley Road service extension. Councillor Rodley.
Yeah, just wanted to look at that Thames Albert Street stormwater improvements. The Thames Protection and Resilience Governance Group was down there yesterday. So just sort of looking at that, so that's showing 275 budget, it was 44 spend and 95 by the end of this financial year. Are you able to just sort of expand briefly on that optimization of the pump system and the upgrades? Is that upgrades to that mobile pump system or?
So I can't expand in detail, unfortunately. I could come back with more detail, but my understanding is that the situation there is technically there's not a straightforward engineering solution, and so rather than try and come up with a way to spend the entire budget on something that might be questionable as a solution, the team have focused on a smaller set of works that's is sort of the extent of a sensible use of money in that situation. So yeah, I unfortunately can't talk in more detail to that, other than to say that what they've encountered on site is not straightforward.
Yeah, and I know that the locals down there have seen that pump in action, and yeah, they are extremely happy with the fact that it has been done, and you know, even if it's deployed, you know, only once or twice a year at king tides or you have some very happy residents down there.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Board Member Rakwa.
Thanks, Chair. Hi, Glenn. I just got a small question. It's not on the list. Maybe it's not the part of that or not, but when I was see up the ceiling here, got a hole in it, and there's just want to check when they will be fixed.
Yeah, through the chair. So that's outside of my remit, so I can't talk to that. It's not with the project team for delivery. My understanding is that there are some wider questions around the building that are waiting to be solved. or resolved for that. But I can get back to you on that. I will go and find the right person to give you an answer.
Thank you.
Just a reminder to board members that there's a CAPEX report and it's in front of you. It's not an item on there. It's a bit risky taking cut on the people. Board Member Johnson.
Glenn, I just want to go back quickly to Totra Valley Road extension.
Mm-hmm.
What's the situation with the negotiations? Is everything? I mean,
so through the chair, we've had some really good discussions with the CBAS developers, and that had been getting quite tense, and that's been resolved, and a pathways forward for that, which sets this. So there is a report going to council around the wider project, which will roll that up, because some of those discussions have informed the wider project, and there might be some changes to how we're tackling things, but that will be coming from Mohammed as GM overseeing that. So it's going well, and we've got a much better roadmap of how to proceed in a way that reduces risk for council, but further details to come on that.
Can it just supplementary, do you think, what a date that things can actually start happening?
So
has there been any indication?
My understanding is that the conversations with CBAS have clarified the way forward for them to get on with things basically as fast as they want. So they're the developer with the that's been the big bottleneck for getting things going, was freeing things up for them, and then the rest of the project that will be covered, the timelines for that will be covered in that report to council.
Thank you.
So, Mr. McIntosh, has any thought been given to having a small group of people within council staff to pursue this Totra Valley Road and bring it to some sort of resolution before too long, please?
So when you say pursue it, so the project delivery team are actively working. So they've led the conversation with CBAS and are doing the bulk of the like the heavy lifting that Mo's going to reflect in his report when it comes to council. So there's a team. So the CAPEX delivery team have been actively progressing this project, and
So my understanding was the CBAS would be interested in be able to have something able to get machinery on site September, October 2024. Is that going to be a possibility?
So I don't know exactly what was agreed, but my understanding is that CBAS are happy.
Right. Fine. Well answered. Okay, over the page. We all know about the sub-regional aquatic thing. We know that. We know what's happening there. So Thames around the spatial plan, we're aware of that. Installation of thing, we have a in-house spokesperson on that. Shoreline management plan, Thames recovery, visitors attraction initiatives. We've been through that. The Karakia Valley proposed rail thing, which I think we've got a submission in on LTP on. So that's it on the CAPEX ones. Then because it's all included in one, we drop over to the project summary report, Coburg Marine Precinct. Did you want to preface anything, say anything about that, please, Mr. McIntosh?
So at this stage, we're exploring having a soft opening of the recreational boat ramp on May the 2nd. And we work. Yes. So that would be a if we can make that happen, that would be a chance to just iron out any wrinkles in the operation and the setup of the boat ramp before we make it more widely known that the boat ramp's open.
Oh, Councillor Rodley.
So you're just looking at the bottom figure, the cost box there. So contract sum of 15.31 million and currently looking at 15.307 to complete. Right. So that's about almost 3,000 under the contract.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that presumably that's and Rose might be able to help me here. That's including the regional council's contribution if we went into contingency.
Yes. So they've made it very clear that they are funder of last resort on the project. So we're preparing. I think we are going to need to put in an application for them to cover contingency on the project, but we need to demonstrate that we've spent the money. We haven't just seen an expected need for it to come.
So that's on the funding, just the last item on the funding there about WRC. There. Councillor Sinclair.
Sorry, Glenn, this isn't really to do with the project as such. We're just thinking about the opening and that the previous community board made some very brave decisions about funding and particularly the use of the tugpara and their very strong advocacy. So when the official opening comes, I would like to extend, I would like the project team and this current community board to extend an invite to all the previous members of the former community board.
That sounds like a really good idea. So we'll capture that, pass that on to the team organising that. We're trying to arrange for I think a minister as well to be present.
Much obliged, thank you.
So that's not for the soft opening though, is it? Yeah.
No.
I don't mind going twice, but. Right, any further questions? There being none, thank you very much for coming online and reporting to us. Okay, the recommendations on page 46. Somebody care to move the recommendation, please? Moved by Councillor Rodley, seconded by. Yeah, oh, I do. Did you hit her punch? Oh, go on then. Board member McKenzie, seconded. Right, thank you. Any further discussion? There being none, I propose to put the motion. All those in favour, please say aye. Those against, declare carried. Thank you, Glenn. Well done, well presented, and at arm's length too.
Thanks all.
Okay, you can come and have a cup of coffee with us if you want to now. Oh no, you're not here.
No.
Right. So, right on, almost on time. Could use on the page here. It's 11.
Sorry, you need the break now, or you can.
No, we'll break. We're going to have a break now and reconvene back here at 25 past 11, please. So, short break for those who wish to have a cup of tea or coffee or visit the convenience is. Okay, you've got 15 minutes. They love these. The media is now back in session for those people on screen. It's all smiling on screen, aren't they? Probably don't change. Right. So if we're going too fast today and getting through the agenda too quickly, please tell me. We'll be finished before lunch is delivered. Okay, item 3.2, Thames Urban General Purpose Reserve Annual Report for 2022 to 23. Are you going to speak to it, Rosalind? Do you want to speak to it? Does anybody want to hear Rosalind's comments regarding this report?
Yeah, so the purpose of the report is the annual report. And as you'll see in the report, HUGPRA has the report outlines the income and expenditure for 2022 to 2023. And in there, we've also included the most recent resolutions for your information. The next steps for the Thames Urban General Purpose Reserve is that we will have a discussion at a briefing in regard to what projects might be suitable for investment. And that is scheduled for the 8th of May. And then following that, we will review the policy because it hasn't been reviewed for several years. Are there any questions?
Oh, Chairman asked that question. Is there any question of the report writer, please? Huh. No. Actually, this has been an ongoing thing. This is a real bugbear of mine. This used to be known as endowment funds policy, and I would like to have some background on it. So hopefully, if you can enlighten me, please, Rosalind. Will we receive the information regarding the tenants, the lease agreements in May, please?
There is a briefing scheduled with the property manager in May, and that is where he will take you through the details around the leases and the rent review dates.
Yeah.
Will Nicole Meal be there at the same time as the lease?
I think that's a
person?
really good idea.
Yeah.
So I will
Thanks.
request that.
I think that's a good idea because there'll be specific questions about the terms of lease and what we can get in and out of and all that sort of stuff.
So for that matter, last time that report came, or not last time a report, recently we got a report on who the lessees are and the duration of leases. So we will need that information for the next one, absolutely. So we've got a full thing. I really would like a little bit of background history as to where the endowment funds came from and who actually gave them to the Thames Borough Council in the first place. Bearing in mind that half of them were sold to bail the Thames Borough Council out of being bankrupt in the 1930s, and it requires an act of Parliament to sell the remaining lot of them, just in case anybody's thinking about we should sell them.
I'll request some background details.
Yes, just a background. I think it's important we know the history of these things without just sort of glossing over them each triennium, without understanding. You'll see it's listed there as a Thames Coromandel District Council property. The reason for that is that we can't own property ourselves. But it is given to a borough council and it's a carryover day from the borough council to us. Okay. There'll be no further discussion. Looking forward to May the 10th. 8th. Oh, 8th. On May the 8th. Oh, I'll be there for that one. I propose to put the motion. All those in, oh no, I was going to ask for a mover first. I saw Rob's hand go up. Board Member Johnson, do we have a seconder, please? Board Member Rakwa. I propose to put the motion. All those in favour, please say aye. Those against, declared carried. That was it. We'll try it again. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Those against, declared carried. If I get into trouble if I don't do it properly.
We don't have Helen or Adrian here, so you can move to 3.5 because Sharon is in the room.
Oh. First reading.
Sharon, you can take it now because the other report writers aren't here.
Yeah, we're fleet-footed like that. We're good. So page 68, 3.5, Waikato Regional Council Long-Term Plan 2024 to 2034. Welcome.
Thank you very much for the community board members. My name is Sharon Smith. I've just done a really brief report for you, for your information on the consultation for the Waikato Regional Council's long-term plan. Because I need to complete the report.
Sian, can you turn your mic on, please? Button on the right. Thank you.
Are we working now? Thank you. Apologies. I'll repeat that for the record. I've done an information report for you about the consultation on the Waikato Regional Council long-term plan. Because I had to write the report before the Regional Council actually published the consultation document, I wasn't able to include any details, but I can just quickly let you know what the topics are that the Regional Council is asking for feedback on. Council staff are currently working through the content there and figuring out what we will recommend to the Council at its meeting on the 30th of April. In terms of the feedback that we will provide, but we haven't quite sort of finished that there. So again, for your information, just so you know what's going on, that we're onto it and that we're doing it. So I can just really quickly tell you what the topics are that the Regional Council is proposing to, well, wants people to provide feedback on and that we're having a look at. So the first topic that they've got, which I think is of quite a lot of interest to us, is about more work that they're going to do on biodiversity, and that includes things like pest management. So what they're proposing to do is increase the amount that they rate for funding of those activities. So the actual proposal is just about an increase in the rate. It's not a huge increase, but certainly the activities that fund is going to go to are things that would be important for our district. The second topic is about simplifying the investment in public transport. Again, it's a rating question, so they're proposing to move from the current system where some councils, not Thames Community Board, but some of the other councils in the region separately impose their own rates for public transport. So the Regional Council is proposing region-wide for the whole thing. So there'll be a region-wide rate for funding of public transport across the whole region. That's that proposal. The next proposal is about economic development. The Regional Council is proposing to change the entities that it uses to fund economic development projects in the region. So there's a regional development fund that operates at the moment, and they're proposing to discontinue that fund, but instead invest the money in the Regional Economic Development Agency, which is called Te Waka. So that's that proposal. Definitely we'll have some views on that, I think. The final proposal relates to monitoring of activities on rural properties, activities that are permitted activities under the Waikato Regional Plan. I think it kind of covers things, but like some discharges are permitted activities. Anyway, not activities that this council does, so unlikely we will have any views on that. In addition to those consultation topics, the Regional Council, in the same way that we do for our own long-term plan, publishes other documents that are sort of supporting documents. And in this case, the Waikato Regional Council has actually published a draft of their long-term plan. So council staff have also looked at that, because sometimes the devil is in the detail. And of particular interest in that document is the Regional Council's infrastructure strategy, which of course includes important infrastructure that they are responsible for and maintain in this district for things like flood protection. So again, having a really good look at that, and probably that's going to be another area that we will make some comments on. And there's a couple of other smaller sort of points that we might pick up on as well, but those are the like meaty, critical sort of things. I'm happy to answer any questions that you have, bearing in mind that we haven't come to a final view on any of
Is
those
there any
things.
questions for the report writer, please? Board Member Rakwa.
What rate increase are you looking for if they go, rates go increase?
For there's
like-
two rate increases, one for the biodiversity and one for the public. The public transport's not an increase, it's just a change in how they're rating it.
For general public, we pay one Waikato rates. So what's percentage going to be go up to?
Oh, I'm sorry, I don't know. That's not something that we would comment on, because that's up to individual people to provide their own feedback to the regional council on the rates that they're going to. So again, one of the other reasons why we thought it would be useful to have this report on the community board agenda is a way for our communities to also become aware that the regional council is doing this consultation. And again, people can, if there are matters which affect them individually, they make their own submissions to the regional council.
Councillor Rodley.
We wouldn't do that, yeah.
So the regional council draft plan is 6% rates increase for 24-25.
Thank you, Councillor Rodley.
And then 8%, and then somewhat optimistically 3% the following year. But they're basically saying $50 would cover the proposed rates increase for each property owner. Although if you're doing flood protection and other stuff, you're probably going to have to pay more.
Thank you.
Just one quick question. You talked about infrastructure, and what will affect us is the proposed rate increase on floodwater protection in this area. I think it's quite a high proposed increase, is it not?
It's not something that was in the consultation document.
Isn't it? I thought I saw a figure on one of their documents as $72 increase.
Yeah, it could be.
Right, and it's probably something the board should be aware of. I don't know any other areas on the Coromandel Peninsula that they do flood protection. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm not sure of any other wards that have flood protection from the Waikato Regional Council, but we certainly do.
Definitely in Thames,
yeah,
for sure. Mm-hmm.
So there's maybe something we should be aware of as a board for commenting on. Oh, yeah. There we are.
I just wanted to let you know that the board has a draft submission, and my understanding is that Leslie has asked that we coordinate the board's feedback into council.
Yes.
So it might be, I'm not sure if it'll be the same arrangement that we did for the draft land transport one, where there was a council submission and then each board submitted, or they all go in as one submission.
All in as one document.
The things that are important for this board, that in terms of those topics that you reviewed, were that consultation point on the Regional Development Fund, because this area received Thames and Coromandel Colville have received grants from that fund. So one was for Korpu and the other was for Sugarloaf.
Yes, so yeah.
Yeah,
please,
so
if the board wants to comment on any of those things through your area manager, if you could feed that in, and we will incorporate that in the full council feedback. Thank you very much. That would be excellent. Thank you. Yeah.
Any further questions? That being none, I thank you most sincerely for coming. How do you pronounce your question? Shan.
Shan. Yeah.
I was too scared to say it in case I got it wrong. I had enough faux pas this morning already. Thank you, Shan. Thank you so much.
You're most welcome. Thank you very much for your time, community.
It's all right. Pleasure. Do we have a mover and a seconder for the recommendation? Oh, okay. Member Mackenzie, and followed by her mentor, Councillor Sinclair. All those in favour, please say aye. Those against, declared carried. Thank you most sincerely. 3.3. All right. Helen Flynn, welcome to the esteemed Thames Community Board.
Turn your mic on, please, Helen, button on the right.
Yeah, both if you want to. That's called stereo.
Good morning all. Helen Flynn from the Community Partnerships team. So I'm providing a recovery plan update. We're going around each of the community boards to provide this. But so I'll take the report as read, but there's just a couple of points I want to elaborate on. The first is just the salaries for the Community Partnerships team, which consists of me plus two social navigators. And recently we've had Isla join us as a 6-month cadet MES Task Force for Jobs MSD recovery funded. So all of the salaries are paid for out of recovery. So it's not from the council salaries budget. And the work plan we deliver on, it's $1.54 million of funding received from either central government through recovery strands or fundings we've applied for instance, MPI or Red Cross or Lions. So the whole work program is completely funded as well, outside of council coffers. I've provided a social recovery update for April, which is the one pager, the picture, and it's just an indication of how recovery is still very much alive in our district, because since this report was prepared, we've had 2 additional yellow placard properties on the Thames coast. So we're now up to 17 red placard and 20 yellow placard. That came as a result of a Department of Conservation engineering report on the Adams Road, Thames Coast Road area. And, you know, we're well over a year past the initial weather events, and yet we've still got a substantial number of properties placarded, and in this instance an increase. So our social navigators work closely with our compliance and building teams, and that providing a bit of that welfare support and wraparound help with direction for those properties that are placarded. And the key issue really is that waiting on the EQC insurance payout, and then when they get it, it's underfunded. So it might be 400,000 for a retaining wall quoted, and yet when it comes to it, they've been given a $100,000 payout. So it's a real barrier for those properties. The other thing about the other piece of work we're working on at the moment is a refresher of our recovery plan. So it's just to highlight the fact that we're still in recovery. So I'm working with the social recovery lead and the recovery manager to refresh our recovery plan, and that will look at the next 9 to 12 months of actions. So some actions we might be able to move across into business as usual, and some of those bodies of work, but some of it is, you know, like the placard properties sit well within the recovery space. But it's also the benefit it's been being part of the social recovery project, and that funding means that it's been a really good time to really build and cement relationships with community groups and organisations that will benefit us ongoing as well. An example of that is a piece of work we're doing at the moment with the Waikato Wellbeing Project, and they're working with Te Tara Otawhai, Haraki, Manamata Piako district councils and ourselves, and we're looking at doing, they are developing funding for and developing a wellbeing measure. So we can support that by pulling together the people that they want to talk to initially in terms of the disability, youth, aged, older persons, disability, those sort of, and communities at risk of climate change, like Colville School, for instance, is at sea level. We're pulling together the contacts for them to have initial discussions to look at the development of the survey questions, and then we'll support them with that survey. So that will give us real opportunity going forward to be able to have a wellbeing measure for Thames Coromandel District Council of the Haraki, the whole of Haraki, that has been really, it's a really good consultation process. The other thing is the resilience hubs that we've established through this. That's outstanding. I think I've put in there 24 with a further 13 communities. It's actually a further 11, and 7 of the further 11 are in the Thames the Thames Community Board area. So it sets us well placed going forward. Those resilience hubs and that piece of work is amazing. Yeah. So any questions?
Board Member Johnson.
I have one. You're funded for 12 months, you and two.
So my role actually, it continues to be partially funded by recovery for another 12 months.
Partially funded.
Partially funded.
Yeah.
But because there's a 30% of it that's funded through the Mayor's Task Force for Jobs project.
Right.
So again, it's an external contract, that's MSD. So,
Yeah, right.
Whereas the social navigators, their role is only up till June.
Yeah,
we've got a community navigator role that we'll bring on board that's funded by recovery for that first year. That will pick up some of this.
That's one. So you put a lot of things in place, and I've heard good reports about it. I just wondered how it was going to keep going if you were if your funding suddenly came to an end.
Yes.
What?
So, transitioning.
Yeah.
So we've got a little bit of recovery funding still for some
Right.
of those salaries and wages, like that 1.7
Right, that's a question.
really. But then ongoing, it'll be building that team. Have you want to add on to that, Lorna?
Good morning. Just through the chair, also just through the LTP, you'll see one of the submission points is around social development and community development. So one of the proposals is that just continued investment in this activity, and it's not council actually leading it; it's council supporting and bringing together agencies better. And as Helen's explained, that's just working so well. So we don't want that to slip away. So that's why we're saying in the LTP we have budgeted for a bit of this to continue.
Great, thanks. Yeah, that's really.
Councillor Rodney, did you have a question?
Yeah, and you mentioned before about placarded properties, and I'm not going to specifically mention any particular placarded properties, just out of some respect. But so you quoted the example where the damage to the land, EQC might say, pay out 100, but the repair bill is going to be 400. And then there's other situations where, in fact, no damage has been done to the property or the land, so insurers are not going to pay any money out. The EQC is not going to pay any money out, but potentially a property is yellow placarded because of a risk that something might happen. So it's even more complex, and I think I'm right in saying that New Zealand is the only country in the world that has insurance on land. So there's no, as far as I know, there's no other EQC type thing around the world, which is, you could say, hey, that's fantastic, we're really cool, or we're a real outlier, why are we doing this? So yeah, it's a very complex situation for people that find themselves with those stickers on.
So what was the question?
No.
Salary. Following on from the Deputy Chair's question, is there some sort of symbiosis between what you're doing and civil defence?
Oh, absolutely. So that was that 1.54 recovery funding for the social recovery plan. It's integral. So I'm social recovery lead, and in the recovery plan, any of the social recovery actions, I have oversight for the budget. But for instance, those the resilience cases, it's actually the Civil Defence Emergency Management Unit that are doing most of the on the ground work with communities. But then we're also supporting them. So from our team, for instance, the work around marae and Māori communities, we might be doing a bit more in that space. So hand in glove right the way through for all of these actions with the Emergency Management Unit.
So to keep you employed, we don't have to wait for a civil emergency, do we, every other year? I mean, the council, do I hear you correctly, the council's making provision to have.
Absolutely, and I just want to say, like, recovery doesn't finish on the 1st of July, and there's still such a tail of an impact, and that's not just about property, it's about, getting people mentally, there's been a lot of, uncertainty and people feeling terrible. Also, we know in these economic times, as tough as it is, so working with MSD and MB, just even around employment, so one of the things as well as we're working at workforce capability, And that's a longer term piece of work as well. So there's lots of opportunities to work better with agencies to benefit communities.
And Helen will collate all that and bring it together, yeah. So and I've never seen this term before, but this is community resilience hubs. What actually do they do, please?
So this is a amazing piece of work where, for probably when I was back in civil defence, we started with those community response groups, and the community response groups, for instance, Te Puru is a quite strong one, are the group that would come together and help the community in a response. So with the community response hubs, we are now giving them some resources. So for instance, it's community dependent because some want different resources than others, so it's reacting to what they want. But a full hub would have a container with a generator. Some of them have the Starlink and a backup battery supply. They might have blankets. This is where communities change, but it's a cache of resources that are available to the community to help their community response group to help the community.
Because I noticed on the national news, for example, a lot of maraes are looking to have access to that and be the focal point for that. And is that one of your focus on a marae in those areas as a starting point?
Absolutely. So that's been a really strong piece of work, and it's not. So we've for each of our marae. So in Kennedy Bay we've got two. So both of them have a hub each.
Wow.
There's Te Paia and Harotonga marae. So
yeah.
there's a river in the middle. So there's actually two resilience kits in that community. Manaia is another example with the river in the middle. There's a kit at the fire station and another kit at the marae itself. And it's not just the recovery funds, we're also leveraging other sources of funding. So we've supported the marae to obtain funding, for instance, from Te Puna Kokiri. But all of this is building our relationships with marae and our ability to easily ask them now to say, can you assist in this emergency by setting up?
So we're looking at marae, for example, and supplying food and things like that, which seems to be a logical thing rather than using a civic centre or something like that.
And I think the Kainga Kai project builds on that as well. So the Kainga Kai Community Gardens project is we're focusing on those northern Māori communities initially, but it does spread out. So for instance, we're working with Coromandel Independent Living Trust as well about a community garden, and the idea is that Manaia Marae or there's a marae in Kennedy Bay are establishing gardens, and they've also got freezers so that they can freeze and collect canned freeze produce, so that there is a source of food there should the roads be closed and they don't have access to. We're unable to drop in food, and that's civil defence response.
I think it's an excellent idea. Yeah, well done. Deputy Chair Rob Johnson.
I was just wondering, just more information for me, really. You're doing courses, you're running courses for the community resilience hubs, and so the people that are involved at that end, are they static? Like that's a group that you've got contact details for them, obviously. Are they pretty static, or are they?
The community
and how big are they? I mean,
it just depends on the community.
One or two.
So the community response groups, generally, it's the key movers and shakers that do everything in those communities. So for communities like Te Puru, it's been reasonably static, but other communities, I think we've had quite a few changes in places like Pauanui. But the invitation has gone out to put forward 3 names from their community group for each of those courses, so that we know that there's at least a couple of people in that community that trained up in first aid. The psychosocial first aid courses, they're larger, they're 24 on each course, where the first aid courses are 16, I think, maximum.
Right. Board Member Rakwa.
Thanks, Chair. Through the Chair, just got a general question. After a storm, maybe some of the house went yellow, red, and some outgoing.
For the red placards, they get a waiver of their weight.
Okay.
Sorry, they get a waiver of their rates if they cannot occupy their property. Okay. The yellow placards are on their
Kitchen, for instance, or the bathroom. Officially, they actually can't, so that's more a case by case on the yellow. On the rates,
If any member of it has a question
about the rates or
yes.
probably in the first instance the rates, but actually navigators work with property owners or the property occupiers, and it's basically establishes that one point of contact for the property itself. So instead of, oh, I've got a question for the building team and I've got a question for the rates team and I need to talk to someone about, you know, my placard, that there's one person that helps them with that. So they navigate through to all those council services. So those individual property owners will know their social navigator. Kath contacts them once a month at the moment. Yeah.
Microphone on. Any further questions of the speakers? There being none, I thank you both very much for presenting to us. Yep. It's really nice to know that there is a background group out there helping these people. You probably so long and nobody even knows you're there and unsung heroes, but it's just good that you're bringing these people together. I really congratulate you on what you're doing. You're doing an excellent job, because it's very difficult for those people who experience those types of events. As you can see down in the East Coast, shocking. Okay, somebody care to move the motion that I moved by Councillor Sinclair? Do I have a second? Member Johnson. Any further discussion? There being none, I propose to put the motion. All those in favour, please say aye. Those against, declared carried. So we must go on to 3.4. Yes, go.
Microphone. Martin.
On page 68, about the Waikato Regional Council long-term plan, the resolution actually says.
Yeah, we discussed that at our pre-meeting.
Thank you.
So hopefully it's corrected on somebody's screen.
Yes.
Cool. Thank you.
I did make some comment at the time, but I won't repeat it here. No. So do we have a report writer for Adriana for 3.4? Oh, there, sorry, in the background. Lots of colour in your report, isn't there? Yeah, you do. I bet you're cursing the rubbish bins.
Button on the right.
Done. Excellent. You're away.
Afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for having me here. So probably you already know me. I'm the Customer Services Manager. I've been working with TCDC for about 2 years from now. So I am providing you today with an overview of what our team delivers for the community and for this organization. So basically, you can see some reports that we ran, some data that we ran from 1st of January to 1st of March of this year. We just, as we discussed in the previous meetings, so the channels, we are the first point of contact of TCDC. We are the front line, and we have different channels to receive the queries of the customers. Through our website, the customers can load artifices through our website. We have front desk, the people who visit our offices every day. We have phones, and of course we have after-hour phones and emails. So this report is around the volume of queries that we receive through all of these channels. In the first chart, probably if you see the screen, so in the first chart, you can see that our team is well trained across and super dedicated across all with the knowledge across all departments. So this, for this reason, we are able to provide the answers at first point of contact at 80%, which is an awesome support for the organization and also for the customers. In our next chart, is the amount of emails that we receive and that we process during this period. We receive 5,500 emails, around 5,500 emails. Just remember, January was still part of the peak season, so we have a lot of queries. In terms of the front desk foot traffic, for January, you can see that Whitianga office have a high volume of visitors. If we go to the next chart, you can see the percentage. In terms of customer visiting our offices, Coromandel town is 10% of the visitors. Whitianga and Teams office has the highest volume of visitors, and AA have 23% of the visitors. So normally during the year, the fluctuation and the percentage is similar. So in the highest volume is for Teams office and for AA services, due to the requires that we receive for customers in terms of AA services. So we submit a formal request to the AA agency for them to provide more permanent services in the Whitianga office and Whangamata office on Whangamata communities. It will support highly the community's elderly population, the kids who needs to work for the workforce, the kids who are ready to take their license, and they don't need to travel all the time to Thames. So we receive a response, and at the moment, AA agency is able to provide for the next 3 months a mobile unit service 3 times a month, and we are still waiting for Whangamata confirmation. However, there is our goal to have a permanent services in one of these areas. Will be Whitianga or Whangamata. Is something that we will discuss with our leadership team and with our CE. So hopefully we can achieve something. It will benefit the community a lot, because so many parents have to take the day off the work to travel and bring the kids to Thames. If we move to our next chart, we can see the total numbers of RFS that we receive by word. So Mercury Bay has the highest volume of RFS, and then followed by Teams. Again, in this for this period, is still the highest peak. Sorry, if we can move. Thank you. We can move to our next chart. Yeah, perfect. Yes, thank you. So in this one, so Mercury Bay have the highest volume, followed by Teams, Whangamata, Tairua, and Coromandel. The percentage is still the same, pretty much. Coromandel is a small office, always will be 10%. So now the top 5 departments, the report of top 5 departments with highest queries break down per word. So in Whangamata, the highest, in all of the wards, we have the highest queries of top department, solid waste. Of course, because we are still in the transition for solid waste, but it's fair to say that across all the years, solid waste is still the highest department, because it's non-resident payers travel, and solid waste is a big thing, glass collection, and now we can say that queries, solid waste is still settled, and the volume of queries become normal at this stage. So as you can see in Whangamata, how the Whangamata work, the top departments with solid waste, water service, regulatory, parks and reserves, and land information, which referring to the LIM reports that our community requires. sorry, I'm going to the link. So Tairua Pawanui, we have the same solid waste, parks and reserves, regulatory, which is related to all dog registrations on all of the services, water services, and LIM reports or land information. For teams, we have in our top 5 departments, we have roading, but then again, it's solid waste, water services, regulatory, parks and reserves, and roading. And then Mercury Bay, it's still the same, but we include building services are for Mercury Bay as different to the other words. And the last one is Coromandel Town. Coromandel Town has also roading as one of the departments with the highest queries. Solid waste, water service, regulatory, roading, and parks and reserves. So now this is in terms of volumes, of the volumes that we've been working with. Due to the feedback that we received from you and from all the community boards in terms of the RFS process, so we are running a project improvement in terms of the RFS. So what is this project about? So the goal of the project is to ensure that our customers have a positive experience when dealing with TCDC. So the idea is the whole project is related to with the closure of the RFSs. So when the RFS has been closed, now with this implementation, as soon you load an RFS, you will receive a number of the RFS, and when your RFS is closed and complete, you will receive an email with an automatic notification telling you your RFS has been complete. If you have any query regarding this RFS, please contact customer services. These have receiving automatic notifications when your RFS has been complete is only one part of the project. We are running an intensive educational plan across all departments to ensure the RFSs, the outcome of the RFSs is clear, and also for the community to ensure they know how to load an RFS. Some of the departments have contractors. We have having meetings with the contractors about what is the expectation of the quality of the RFSs when the RFSs has been closed. We start these projects with parks and reserves. Then we will go to roading, water service, solid waste, regulatory, duty planning, and building. The lead time to implement the full project is a bit ambitious, but we are we hope to complete the whole project at the end of July this year. So we add at least the 60% of parks and reserves. Parks and reserves provide 82 services to the communities. So we start implementing the automatic responses for each of one of these services. Of course, every single services that we provide are built into a specific time frames. And on these time frames, when customers call us, they are able to know what are the time frame of their requests. Some departments have very short time frames or some services. Then please let me know if you have any questions.
Oh, right. Right. So we've got Deputy Chair, and then we've got Councillor. I just want one quick thing, right? As the document on page 67 of our document, the request for service completed letter, which you're going to email out.
Yeah.
May I make a plea that you actually say what you have completed? Just giving me a number if I've got 3 or 4 requests for services in, then I've got to go back and find out which one it is. Why don't you say that we have repaired the footpath that you requested on this number or something like that? Just a small box, not too much detail, but it would save you, because a lot of people are going to come back and say, what was that for? What did we request? I think. So the think tank around us that we were looking at, we thought that maybe a little box in there just to say what you've done, whether it's repaired the footpath or shifted an overhanging branch or whatever.
Yeah.
Any comments? You're getting advice from the councillor.
We because before we launch this project, we peer with other councils to see how they work for this RFS. So this is the first phase of the project. So because we need to reassure the confidentiality of the communications. For this reason, you will get the RFS number and the department that you raise your RFS, but you can contact us to let us know, to discuss exactly what was the result. Probably in the next phase of the project, when we are more confident with the quality of information and also with the confidentiality clauses, we can develop, but it's a very valid question. Thank you so much.
Well, that seems a rather complicated way of doing it. I'm not too sure what Councillor Rodney sent to you, but
I take notes.
A blank piece of paper right on. Right. Deputy Chair.
Can I clarify? I think you were just suggesting that it's just the topic, not the actual result, not the written result within the email, just the topic, what the topic was.
Yeah.
And you're saying that you think that's a confidentiality issue?
Well, it could be, but at the moment,
you're just testing it at the moment.
Yeah,
okay.
We are letting the customers know
Yep.
that your RFS has been complete, and
Yep.
you are able to email us
Yeah.
or contact us. Some people we ask, are you want to know the outcome of your RFS? Some people definitely don't want to know the outcome. It's for these people who are interested in the outcome of the RFS.
Okay, and my suggestion, if I could just make it, was your report, which is really nicely colour-coded. But when we whip down it, I see what you've done. You've ranked things in terms of when we're talking about top 5 departments, for example, Tairua Paranui, and then say Thames. You've ranked them in number order, but assigned the same colours to each one. So solid waste is the top runner for Tairua Paranui and so on, and Thames. But the next one is regulatory nuisance for which is you've marked red on Tairua Paranui and red water services on Thames. So just thinking, if you colour code things, maybe you keep the colours the same for each.
Across all the charts?
For the chart.
Oh,
if
yeah.
you're going to assign a colour, then keep it the same thing, and then we can they don't even have to be decreasing like that. They could be all over the place. Yeah,
very valid
and
point.
then then it's really easy to see the differences in which ward has the biggest problem. Yeah.
Okay.
We've got. Yes.
Through the chair, just something that to address your comments around reporting. One of the reasons, as Adriana's said, is that there hasn't been a closing of the loop. Sometimes people will put in an RFS and they don't get any response whatsoever. So the purpose for the start is actually to acknowledge that something has happened. Also, just we do an audit now monthly and we pick out a number of RFSs and go through them. One of the things we do see is that when people are asking to be called, and this is happening quite regularly, there are phone calls from the staff or the contractors, and they are calling the people and explaining the RFS's response to those customers. So apart from if it's not specific in the pro forma template, there is definitely regularly staff and contractors calling those customers as well.
The reason why I said that, because it actually states the request for service number has now been completed. So you're actually saying, not saying we're onto it or not saying we received it, you're saying it's been completed. And I'm just wondering why you can't say being completed by whatever. So that person has to come back and say, well, what have you done? You know, it just seems to be an add-on type situation that you could clear it up once and for all. First of all, you acknowledge it because we all get acknowledgements the moment they go out. And then secondly, you get your action has been completed by.
I hear your point. The thing is, it's a pro forma response across all of the departments, and so we can't do specific for every single action as to why or what has been done. But that's something we can look at.
I don't understand why you can't, because you start off by having an action to work on. So, like, yeah, what?
Excuse me, yes, it might be a pro forma, but the number must be imported. 10056, for example, must be imported, and therefore you must be able to just import a title.
You definitely will get in your email, your RFS number, such and such, has been complete, and the name of the department which you raised the RFS. You will get that. And our pathway, which is the software that we use to load or to work in all the RFSs, have the capability to provide the result, the outcome of the RFSs. But to start the project, we are sending an automatic response, and we will evaluate on the course how it comes, and if we can implement it, the capability of the pathway to take the result.
Yeah, can I just also make a comment? So this field that you can see in the draft letter is a field that represents the nature of the RFS. And what Lorna and Adriana have said is that in future, providing the system can do it, the response could also be added, but it wouldn't be part of this stage of the project. It would be a future stage where the staff would need to input into a field which gets sucked into the template. So it might say repairs and maintenance footpath on Holland Street. You know, like that's an example. Thank you.
Can I have 2 cents, please?
Yeah, I'm still trying to, you go and try to digest what Roslyn just said.
Certainly, and I've cheated Martin out of his spot, but just certainly in terms of the people who come and talk to us at the market when we're front-facing this and people are asking about the RFSs, in terms of an incremental improvement, having some sort of acknowledgement from council that the job has been completed is better than nothing. But I do think of this as being an incremental improvement. So yes, in the short term, we can say, yes, the letter very clearly says that the department, and then the attachment A, the council department is repairs and maintenance, and then there's a service number. And so this is better than having nothing, but it would be really great to be able to import the data as these gentlemen were suggesting. So let's look forward to the improvements and just celebrate that we have an improvement for now.
Thank you. Definitely, we will take your feedback on board.
Thank you, Chair. Through the Chair, I just want to say thank you. The new system is easy to use, and for me, it's working really good. Recently, I submitted one RFS. Was one RFS, but I had 3 different jobs included. So RFS people, they separate the job, they give the separate 3 numbers. So that's really good. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your acknowledgement. Martin, your question?
Through the Chair. Yeah, I guess I just struggle a little bit with the idea that in the first phase of the project, that for the template that we've got the service number and the department. I guess coming from a IT background, I'm just struggling to think there will be a title for the RFS, and I'm thinking we're pulling out the number, we're pulling out the department, and I'm just really unsure why we would wait for an additional phase of the project before we put the title in there, because ultimately and behind it all there's just a database, and this template is just pulling stuff from there. So I'm struggling with the idea that we would be spending money on this part of it and then presumably maybe going out to the suppliers, getting of the software, getting their input, And I don't know why we're not doing more at the start. So that's just one thing that other people have already mentioned. And then the second thing is, so when we say an RFS is complete, at one point I was told that that means that it has been assigned to either a department or a contractor for that work to happen. But other times I've been told, no, that means that the burst pipe outside your house has in fact been fixed. And so I wouldn't mind getting that clarification around what complete means.
Okay, thank you so much, Martin.
Sorry, that's a very long question.
No, perfect. So your questions are two parts. One around what complete means, and the second one, why we don't implement providing the response to the customers in the automatic email.
Yeah, well, I was thinking more just the title of the RSF rather than the action.
Okay, so as you know, this automatic notification is a new component, a new way to start, and it requires a lot of educational and training and awareness plan across all departments. And also some of the departments of the infrastructure area have contractors. So we need to ensure that the quality of information is clear. Sometimes when we do the monthly auditing, sometimes the RFS has a very technical wording, which is not clear is only clear for the water engineers or is clear for the civil engineers. So for a customer to receive this type of technical response doesn't make sense. So for this reason, we need to internally assess how every single department will be able to have a clear update of what action has been taken to resolve your RFS. At the moment, we're not there. For this reason, this is the first phase.
So I get how different departments will respond in different ways, and some will, most of their work, like for water, for instance, a lot of that will be passed out to Veolia or Roading, Ventia. But I mean, I'm just talking about the actual title. So if someone rings up an RFS or types it in, they might type in tree overhanging power lines in Upper Albert Street. So I'm struggling as to why that single line of the title of the RFS can't be included.
Okay. Yeah. So thank you for that. So in the pathway, they are building with different codes, and it's code number 3467, and it wouldn't make sense for the customer, but these different codes refers to a specific services, but definitely is worth to consider and to discuss with the IT team, that instead of pick up the department, if we have the definition of each RFS pathway code, it will work. Yeah. Yeah. And now, can we move to the next? Oh, no. Yeah. Okay.
I just read my messages. Yes.
Okay. So in terms of your second question, what complete RFS means? So as you know, every single RFS are built into different time frames. Let's say if you load an RFS for my collection for solid waste team, my collection has been missed or my tag has been stolen, the time frame is the same day. However, if you and the RFS, when the action is complete and taken, the RFS, the principle is when the action has been complete, you will receive your notification. This is the principle. However, roading, some part of the roading RFSs have long time frames, sometimes months and months because of the nature of the job. So then it will be a work program. However, the RFS will create the details, what is going on, what is the background, and what are the lead times or the time frames for us to inform the customers. It is in the principle of complete RFS is when the action has been taken. Some RFSs that we receive are not part of our jurisdiction, And then with these RFSs will be complete, you will receive the completion. But for the rest, the action has been taken and complete, you will receive your notification.
Right. So I'm sitting here, and I'm a bit slow on the uptake, but I'm sitting here thinking, instead of being completed, why don't you have the actions being assigned? So then we know it's gone out to the contractor. No, it's not on pathways.
but I can go with further details. At the moment, we're working with parks and reserves, except for the cemetery task. We are allocating automatic notifications to all of the services. And then in roading, it will be a discussion with the manager and the GM about how will be the notification for the services that they provide.
Okay. Thank you very much. I really appreciate your time. And as Councillor Sinclair said, probably most of our queries, or some of our queries certainly, are at our little desk we have at the market is about RFS. So they put them in and no response and things like that, or they come back. So I think this is a big step forward if they're going to be notified. But thank you so much, Adriana. Adriana.
Thank you for having me.
Bye. Thank you. Don't forget to take your vodka out of the water. So we haven't got there yet. They're gone. So does someone care to move the report be received? Do I have a seconder, please? Moved by Councillor Sinclair, seconded by Deputy Chair. All those in favour, please say aye. Those against, keep carried. What are we doing next?
We can knock out the next two. We're going to have lunch.
Right. What's the next two? 3.6. Oh, 3.6. That's you. That's you. Action schedule 3.6. Turn over the page. Have a look at the action schedule.
Mine's my update on district signage.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Okay, you all read that? Okay. Ask Rosalind, do you have an update on the district signage? Please. Part of 2.1 Thames recovery.
I did get an update on that. It's got nothing to do with Thames recovery. It's a district project, and the staff involved have been in contact with Waikato, so they've got everything together, but there's no funding this financial year, and so they will be looking at that either as an out of cycle request later this year. Yeah, so that's the information I've got. They're still working away at it, chipping at it, away at it. They're at the stage of getting quotes for manufacturing and installing.
Okay. Got another. Oh, sorry. Councillor Rodley.
So I just want to check that district signage, but then it talks about Waikato Tahi, but some of that Thames Recovery Visitor Attraction project was about signs and what are we calling those maps?
Visitor signs.
Yeah, which are not on Waikato Tahi.
No, they're going to be installed
land.
shortly. We're hoping they'll be installed by the end of April. The green and white ones, is that what you're referring to?
You know, the ones that shape like the poppet head and shape
I know,
like the...
those ones are, we're getting the quotes. We're at the quote stage.
Yep.
And once we get the quotes, they will be manufactured and installed by as soon as possible.
Okay, I just kind of thought...
Yeah, we can only go as fast as the contractors, and
yeah.
So we're, that's what we're doing.
I just kind of thought in that action schedule, yeah, we just have the Waikato Tahi one there, so I thought that might have been useful to have a thing there about those other, the other signs.
Yeah, as I said, these are this item is not related to that report. This district signage is completely separate, and so it is a bit misleading. I agree.
You do have to remember,
but
sorry, through the chair, these actions, why it's got 2.1 Thames recovery initiatives attract visitors, it's the item that the action was recorded under. We need to remember
right.
that.
And it's one of the members asked a question during that report that wasn't related to the decision on the day. It was related, that report was about visitor map signage, so the pinnacle sign, the Carry Dam sign. So the signage, as I said, is at the stage where, so we're talking now about the visitor maps. We are at the point where we're getting quotes. So we've contacted the supplier, they're going to get us some quotes, and then we'll get them installed. And we've been liaising with Rob the whole way through. So
okay, and with the Waka Kotahi one, so you're saying that's not in Waka Kotahi's budget for this financial year ending in the end of June. But then you're also saying that they were getting quotes and stuff. I mean, how can they say that it's not in their budget if they don't know what the cost is? Or do they know what the cost is?
okay, so that's what you've got in front of you. The project is in investigation stages. Staff have contacted Waka Kotahi to progress this. This text is about the district signage, not about the Thames tourist signage. It's about signage on the state highway, somewhere before you get to Kopu, I would imagine, and somewhere over the Wheritoa area. Wheritoa's in Karakia district. So we know that's what that comment is about big, large signs that we require resource consent for, and it costs to apply for the consent and the construction and installation.
Okay, yeah, I guess like maybe others, or maybe it's just me, the fact that that's headed up 2.1 Thames recovery, where if it was actually saying signs welcoming people to the district, which is something I've been talking about for several years, that would make that clearer. So
I agree with you.
Yeah.
However, as Jenna pointed out, the action came from a question that was raised during item 2.1 Thames recovery, and that's why it's there.
Okay. And also, I mean, around that district signage, I worry about the fact that in other areas you see one, a few posts in the ground, and you see the welcome to Hauraki district, and on the other side of that same sign you see the thanks for visiting, or you pass out of one and on the other side is the welcome to the other type thing. And I would just really worry that we might be just making this project cost way more than what it has to if there's the opportunity to piggyback on the back of a Hauraki District Council sign, which all three around the peninsula would be Hauraki District Council. Are we talking to them about piggybacking off the back of their signs? Because that would seem to me the completely cheapest way to do this. Signs already there, Waka Kotahi have signed off, the posts are in the ground. I'm just sort of confused.
My comment, based on what I have been advised, is no. And the other comment is usually when you're driving out of the district, it says farewell from Hauraki District Council on the other side. Or
yeah, but then there's some that don't.
I can find out and I'll get back to you.
Yeah, I mean, that just seems from a practical point of view, the thing's already there, it's on private landowners, all the permissions have been granted. Just put it on the back of the sign. Sorry. Very simplistic.
Okay, I think we'll continue this discussion over lunch. But first of all, any further discussion on the action schedule? Yes, Councillor Rodley.
So when we had Alan Young here, has requested a meeting with council about the gold mine thing. So it says point 4 there, it says staff advised Mr Young that they contact the Department of Conservation as owners of the land. But what I believe, Alan, was after there was some support from council so they could go to DOC and say, hey, we've spoken to council, they're amenable to the idea. This just seems to me to be saying that they need to go back to the Department of Conservation. At some point, someone has to say, yes, we are supportive of this idea, go and talk to Doc, or we'll come along with Doc to talk to you about it. So I'm a little bit confused as to why he's been told, and this is dated way back February 23. He's subsequently come along to talk to us since then, so I would appreciate a more up-to-date update on that.
I don't know if that's correct.
I don't
23,
have
that's
any further
24.
details. The item is from a group who has facilities over both TCDC land and dock land, and they are requesting that we acquire land. And so this isn't a community board decision to acquire land, this is a council decision. And usually what happens is that the organisation who's disposing of the land would contact the other organisation that would acquire the land, and there would be a discussion. But we do have our property people here, the property staff, who may like to comment on this.
But before they do so, it's a fair way off what the topic was at that discussion. The actual topic is Thames Gold Mine Experience want to know if council would accept the land to join their heritage reserve blocks they've got there already, and if so, then they'll go back and discuss it with the Department of Conservation, say yes, the council will accept it. They didn't want to have a discussion unless council want to accept the land. So I'm not too sure why, and I agree with you, why that comment should be there, and I think it should be 2024 because it was this year. Why staff would say go back to talk to Doc. The whole conversation has taken place already. They just want to know whether council would be receptive in adding the land to the existing heritage reserve that they have there. Is that what you?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd like to see it progress.
And I agree.
They came up with a reasonably compelling argument. Doc didn't tell them to go away in some initial discussions. I think Doc was like, well, before we can give this land to council will have to agree to accept it. So I see the next part of the process is Doc and the prospectors and us, not me, but council people sitting around going, what would need to be involved with this? Is everyone happy with the concept? So
I did offer to raise it with Doc, and I was asked not to do that.
I think what they were looking for is for council to facilitate the discussion of the transfer of the dock land into a council heritage reserve at no cost to council.
I offered to arrange, to get involved with Doc, discuss with Doc, and I was asked not to do that, please. By one of the members of the prospectors group.
Councillor Sinclair?
No, just wondering, in the interest of...
The jet plane's calling.
Yeah, I've got to leave in 20 minutes. In the interests of the, what we have in front of us in terms of the action schedule, I think we can all agree that the note attached to this, and that staff advised Mr. Young, that isn't what he was asking for, and that's not how we should record in the notes and commentary. So perhaps a more constructive thing would be to say, that you asked to have that change, to say that we will continue conversations, and then agree as a board to continue those conversations, whether it be here with us or whether we take it further to council and brief the mayor. I just think otherwise we can all recognise and acknowledge that there's a mismatch between what's written down and what we all recall. But in the spirit of sort of being able to move on, and we're not going to solve it today, but if we have a clear path forward, that would be more helpful.
Yeah, thank you for that, because the three councillors and the board chair did actually meet with the mayor on this, so it's moved further ahead than going back and talking to Doc. So on that note, and the fact that you wish to spread your wings as such.
I'd actually prefer to just get it correct the first time.
Oh, they will. I'm sure that it's been taken on board, your comments, unless you want to add that into the recommendation.
No, I'm not trying to hurry us along. I'm trying to come to a good place.
Or do you want to add something in the recommendation? No. Okay. So I'm sure that the governance officer has certainly noted that point. She has, yeah. And look, I've got a heap of these things saying, move it on, move it on. Right. And I'm not in red either.
So we were happy to take the next step. I was happy to take that step.
Yeah, we got that.
That's what we do as staff. You know, we do talk to Doc quite a lot and WRC a lot. And so very happy to do that.
I think this is an in-house operation. I think Doc and gold mine experience. Okay, so somebody, no further discussion, no, there's not. So now would somebody care to move the recommendation, please? Board Member Rakwa, seconded by Board Member McKenzie. Any further discussion? All those in favour, please say aye. Those against, declared carried. Now I'll receive further instructions from the governance officer what we're doing next.
Your chairperson report.
Oh, chairperson report, which is in a public. Oh no, it's not. That's the next page. That's the next red stickers. Okay, chairperson report. Whee. So I'll take that as being read. I just would make one plea, please, that when we're doing a meeting events and that attended, and I'm sure that other people have attended things as well, that we should probably note them here as board things. So if you just give us some thought, it happens once every 6 weeks, if you just think about what you did over that period of time, and then there's actually a template out there for you to use, which we can resend to you if you wish. I'll look at the board members now. Elected board members, okay. I propose to, if there's no further discussion on that, I'll move the recommendation that the Thames Community Board receive the chairperson report dated the 14th of March 2024. They stayed up for 2 hours.
There is just one very quick.
Oh, yes?
I mean, looking at this, I'm sort of a little bit, embarrassed about how often I'm in there. Some of the things that are there, we're actually mandated to do as being councillors. Yeah. And yeah, I think you're right. If it was more at community board level, correct. But I guess it's just that matter of we bombard Jenna with all this information and then she's putting it in. So,
and I think it's important that we know what people are doing, council are doing, but I think that the pertinent point here is what is happening on the board in relation to as a board representative is what we're looking for. So not being rude, I think those who have committed themselves and kept a diary or notes of what they've done, that's amazing. When you look down there and see what the council are doing, I can remember council standing here at the Resident Ratepayers Association meeting, which I referred to there, and pointing out to them that they received less than the minimum wage for the work they do. So, and you can see why when you read that. I mean, it's a colossal amount of work. Then you look what the board members get at $10,800 a year, and you wonder why they even turn up. Seriously.
We obviously love the fact that you turn up.
You're supposed to laugh at that. Yeah. Okay. I've moved the motion. Been seconded. All those in favour, please say aye. Yeah. Board Member McKenzie. She turned and smiled nicely and said, yep. Against? No. Declared carried. Are we going to do that now, public exclude? Yep. Okay. All right. What's that? 3.4? 3.7? Oh, 3.8, I think. Yeah, 3.7. Moved by Councillor Sinclair. Do we have a seconder, please, to move in a public excluded, which will require the members of public to leave the building, vacate the room. That's you.